Good evening and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We thank you for joining us. I am Lydia Odiji-Ochi. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed formal appreciation to the banking community in Nigeria for supporting his administration's genuine efforts at enhancing food sufficiency and security, as well as the job creation enterprise. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that this was while granting audience to members of the Executive Council of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria who called on him.
Still basking in the euphoria of his 56th anniversary celebration, Council members of the Chartered Institute of Bankers are here to formally appreciate the tenacity of purpose and political will of the Buhari presidency to rebuild Nigeria and her economy through transparent, honest, and purposeful leadership. President of the Council, Dr. Uche Mezaya Olou, enumerated the unprecedented infrastructural development, stimulation of interest in agriculture, exchange rate stability, plethora of intervention schemes to drive inclusive growth, blockage of leakages through a veritable anti-corruption crusade, as well as removing bottlenecks associated with ease of doing business as some of the great exploits.
And we want to make bold here that as an institute, we are fully supporting the current government policy on land border closure to protect and promote made in Nigerian goods. That is a policy clean for us as an institute. We want to reaffirm the commitment of the entire banking industry towards ensuring a stable financial system and well contributing to the economic growth and development initiatives of the government.
Describing the banking sector as critical to the economic development of any society, President Muhammadu Buhari expressed delight that in the past 4 years, Nigerian banks kept increasing their lending to the real sector, especially in key job-creating areas.
Our collaboration with the Central Bank of Nigeria has been a key anchor to our food security program. We can only feed ourselves by deploying capital to the right areas. I implore the banking community to keep this trend up. I am aware of the challenges that hinder your ability to lend to the real sector, such as land and other collateral-related issues. I am urging state governments to assist by simplifying and rationalizing land matters.
President Buhari noted with pride that Nigeria has the most vibrant, creative, and innovative banking sector in Africa.
Nigerian bankers have not only proved themselves in Nigeria alone, but across the entire continent and other parts of the world. I am proud when I visit African countries and see posters or branches of Nigerian banks. I will ask all your members to continue to be great ambassadors of Nigeria as we expand within Africa and beyond.
During the visit, the Council of the Bankers Institute made a case for, amongst others, the creation and full implementation of an Education Development Bank, review of the CIBN Act, and harmonization of taxes imposed by the various organs of government. President Buhari asked for formal submission of such requests in writing to his office for possible consideration. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
In preparation for the floating of a single currency within the ECOWAS region by the year 2020, the ministers of finance and governors of ECOWAS central banks are putting efforts in place to increase regional integration among member countries. Chimobi Walter Naji was there and now reports.
Us to float a single currency within as a legal tender within the ECOWAS region has been on for more than 2 years. But beyond using the initiative as a form of regional integration, the ECO currency, when approved, will not only facilitate trade and price stability among trading partners, but serve as a third force in the foreign exchange market to build a strong currency to compete favorably with other currencies of the world.
But as these achievements are exciting, the prospects for the currency future in 2020, viewed in terms of macroeconomic stability and convergence, is to say the least rather uncertain. This reasoning is predicated on the seemingly intractable challenge of member countries' failure to satisfy the convergence criteria.
The expectation at the end of this meeting is for the Council of Ministers and Governors to set up a central bank to chair the implementation of the ECO currency. From the ECOWAS Secretariat in Abuja, I'm Chibubi Walter Naji, NTA News.
With the passage of 10.59 trillion naira 2020 appropriations bill by the National Assembly, a cross-section of Nigerians have continued to express the hope that President Muhammadu Buhari will assent to the bill before the end of the year to ensure adequate implementation. Some of them who spoke to Kenneth Manning believe early passage of the budget will give room for transparency and proper accountability in the budget implementation process.
Passing the budget early, it will bring a good dividend of democracy to the people.
We pray that you also release the fund accordingly so that we will be able to have a good year 2020.
Yes, we have passed 10-point-something trillion. At the end of the day, what is the implementation rate? So I think it will help the economy if there will be a catchback.
We expect that they will implement it and on time. Nigerians will hope that this budget will actually touch their lives in all areas.
The purpose of government is the welfare, the security and the welfare of the people. And we expect that when appropriations are made, it should reflect, that.
This will actually help the government in planning. There will be proper checking and balancing. We can trace the record properly.
They urged government to pay priority attention to the projects that bear direct impact on the lives of citizens. The convener of the Revolution Now protests, Omoyole Sowore, and his co-accused Olawale Bakare have been rearrested on the premises of the Federal High Court, Abuja. This follows the adjournment of their case to the 11th of February 2020. Olabode Arewa reports.
The trial of Omoyole Sowore and Olawale Bakare was slated for commencement of trial this Friday, following their release from DSS custody on Thursday. The prosecution counsel Azan Liman SAN informed the court of the party's decision to ask for an adjournment. Counsel to the defendants, Femi Falano SAN, did not oppose the motion. The presiding judge, Justice Ijoma Ojukwu, took judicial notice of the compliance to the court's order by the DSS and adjourned the case to the 11th of February 2020. As the two defendants made moves to leave the court, they were rearrested and taken away by security agents. The reasons for the arrest are yet to be known.
The federal government of Nigeria released Mr. Sowore and Bakare yesterday, the 5th of December 2019.
No, but they are being rearrested now. No. They are being rearrested. There was a move to forcefully take them away from the court.
Other cases slated for hearing before the court were adjourned till further notice. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
World leaders, climate experts, and activists are meeting in Madrid, Spain, at the Global Climate Change Talks, also known as COP25. The aim is to come up with a game plan to avoid the most catastrophic impacts of global warming. Aisha Bello Mustafa reports.
The talks begin against a backdrop of increasingly stark warnings of the urgency of the task. A new United Nations report released 2 days into the summit confirmed that the last 5 years were the warmest on record.
Do we really want to be remembered as the generation that buried its head in the sand, that fiddled while the planet burned? The other option is the path of hope, a path of resolve, of sustainable solutions, a path where all fossil fuels remain where they should be, in the ground.
The conference aims to lay the final pieces of the groundwork needed to support the 2015 Paris Agreement to tackle climate change. It enters a crucial phase of implementation next year. The agreement calls for a capping of global warming at under 2 degrees Celsius, but scientists say it is better to aim for 1.5 degrees instead. And on the eve of the talks, the United Nations chief said that is doable. All that is missing is political will.
The president has reiterated the commitment of Nigeria under his administration to be proactive in combating the problems of climate change.
Scientists believe that current national pledges will see temperatures rise by at least 3 degrees Celsius, and that will impact human health and food security. The climate summit in Madrid, COP25, is the final COP before the world enters the defining year of 2020, when many nations must submit new climate action plans. Among the many elements that need to be ironed out is the financing of climate action worldwide. Aisha Bello Mustafa, NTA News.
Our next set of reports from the National Assembly. An appeal has been made to the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Abubakar Adamu, to, as a matter of urgency, reduce the number of checkpoints on federal highways in the country. The Senate made the appeal in Abuja, insisting that it has become necessary to reduce the gridlock on the roads. It also urged Adamu to direct officers of the police force to eschew all forms of extortion on motorists, as alleged, while carrying out stop and search to establish validity of vehicle particulars. The resolutions were reached following the consideration of a motion brought to the floor by Senator Chukwuka Utazi.
Benin Bypass, Police, Benin Bypass 2, SARS, Benin Bypass 3, Army, Ugonegi, Police, Ugonegi 2, Police, Abudu, Customs, Abudu 2, Army, Omumu Agbo, Army.
Whether we like it or not, we have security challenges in this country. And I know that the presence of these checkpoints have to a reasonable extent deterred the criminals. What should concern us as a matter of fact is asking the police to be professional in their duty.
To appeal to the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, to, as a matter of urgency, give facelift to all federal highways in order to ease free flow of traffic, especially this Yuletide season.
Meanwhile, the bill, which makes provisions for the review of tax laws in Nigeria, has been passed by the House of Representatives. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the amendments would enable government rake in more revenue from budget funding.
Executive bill made amendments to companies' income tax, petroleum profit tax, capital gains tax, value-added tax, which has now been increased to 7.5%, among other tax laws. These reforms will expectedly fund the budget and make the business environments more viable, having eliminated double taxation. The House also passed at second reading a bill for an act to alter some sections of the Constitution of Nigeria towards strengthening the principle of separation of powers, sponsored by Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila.
To forestall a situation whereby the judicial arm of government will stop either the executive, but especially the legislature, from performing its functions.
Once there is concentration of power in the hands of one arm of government, it breeds tyranny, it breeds dictatorship, which is an anathema to our democratic experience.
While taking matters of urgent public importance, the House resolved to investigate non-adherence to the provisions of the Pensions Reform Act for relevant agencies as moved by Yusuf Gagdi.
Payment for retirees under the contributory pension scheme of the federal government was in December 2018, implying that all federal government workers who retired since then have not received any payment from the retirement saving accounts.
The House is also to investigate the violence in Anambra State that led to the killing of some persons, including police officers, as moved by Emeka Azubogu, as well as the recent alleged attack on persons in Taraba, as tabled by Magaji Da'u Aliu.
The recent attack took place on 23rd November 2019
in Garin Yalwa in Jalingo local government area, which left many people homeless, property looted.
Plenary featured the swearing-in of member representing Ajaokuta Federal Constituency, Lawal Idrisu, who won the recently conducted election rerun on the platform of APC from the National Assembly. Lami Ali, NTA News.
Thanks for staying. Let's now join Dotun in Lagos for stories from that zone. Hello, Dotun.
Hello, Lydia, and welcome to Lagos. The signing of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement by 54 African Union member states is a milestone for economic integration in the region, which will serve as a catalyst for boosting trade between countries, support industrial development, create business opportunities, and generate employment. Ahead of its implementation, key actors in the process have started deliberating on modalities for its effectiveness. Amaka O reports.
There exists potential for Nigeria to supply exports to other countries in the continent who currently rely on products and services originating from outside Africa that are constrained by tariff and non-tariff trade costs. And Nigeria is fully prepared to take advantage of available opportunities. Intra-African trade, therefore, remains the game changer for Nigeria. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement is one of those that have been presented to see how Africa and Nigeria can contribute to the development of the continent.
That is creating business for the manufacturers, and that is also getting the backward linkages that will lead to prosperity.
Also, a focus on industrialization so that Africa is able to trade in its own goods.
Consultative and consensus building efforts of government to ensuring that opportunities of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement are maximized therefore remain critical. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, who was represented at the forum, said federal government has constituted a National Action Committee to coordinate the successful implementation of the trade agreement at all levels.
We don't want to become a dumping ground, and so that's why we are stressing that we obey the rules. It's made in Africa.
Protocols would have been written down, designed. Let us ensure that they are followed up.
And we also have to create structures in Africa that will ensure that the agreement works.
There will be more consultations to understand the key provisions of the agreement and how it will impact the Nigerian economy before its full implementation in July 2020. In Lagos, Samaka O, NT News.
The Lagos State government is investing 250 million naira to stimulate science and research-driven innovation. At the unveiling of an innovation master plan in Lagos, the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, said the gesture is part of efforts in building its smart city ambition, which is expected to provide 6,000 kilometers fiber connectivity within 2 years. Michael Olaleye reports.
Lagos has one of the smallest landmass in Nigeria, but accounts for more than 10% of the entire 190 million population of the country. This population density has resulted in traffic congestion and environmental degradation, which are detrimental to the growth of the state. This tech forum is using innovation in not only offering solutions, but to become the enabler and define how Lagosians live.
The use of artificial intelligence to predict movement of human resource and materials and reverse the environmental degradation are critical solutions that we need to adopt.
The project is anchored around setting up a local technology ecosystem, which is expected to drive internet consumption by 10% within the next 12 months.
The state is providing 2,000 high-definition cameras so as to accomplish the Safe City initiative.
The platform is expected to increase access to information, which will help creators to design problem-solving applications and engender participatory governance.
What we are hoping to get out of these is are patents that solve problems.
More than 2,000 tech giants, policymakers, ventures and software engineers are deliberating on how to unlock the economic potential in Nigeria in the digital era. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NT News.
Let's talk food security. Poultry production is a fast means to bridge the protein deficiency gap in Nigeria. It contributes significantly to the nation's gross domestic product and about 9 to 10% of the agricultural GDP. Leveraging on the importance of the subsector, poultry farmers in Lagos are repositioning themselves to increase production and its value chain in order to meet local demands and exports. Kenny Beluge reports that modern poultry techniques were also discussed at the forum.
The poultry subsector is the most commercialized of all Nigeria's agricultural subsector, with a current net worth of 1.6 trillion naira. It has a population of 165 million, which provides about 650,000 metric tons and 300,000 metric tons of eggs and meat. The conference, therefore, is to deliberate on how farmers and investors could take advantage of the many opportunities available in the subsector and ways to improve it for economic growth.
With increasing global population, investors have started touting Africa as a potential food basket that will feed the world. And this is a circumstance that will definitely attract billions of dollars in both direct and indirect investment funds.
By using seed, maize, soya, like they help them reduce the cost of the materials. In turn, the farmers will buy materials at a lower cost and produce at a least cost.
Following the ban on importation of poultry and subsequent closure of the nation's borders, speakers advised farmers to up their games using global best practices to achieve more.
The way farmers produce, they don't really adhere strictly to more of ethical practices.
Closure has made it competitive. If you don't do it right, they don't buy from you.
The consensus at the conference is that with collaboration of key players with government, the diversification project, which targets the non-oil sector, will be more attainable. In Lagos, and Beluge, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Lagos. It's back to Lydia in Abuja.
Many thanks, Dotun. The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs has again solicited the support of well-meaning Nigerians in the federal government's drive to provide good healthcare services to rural Nigerians. This was when the Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Tallen, received a health-based non-governmental organization seeking partnership to provide high-care health services. Glory Agbo reports.
Talmic and health experts are here to offer free services to people with ailments.
Lagos is going to be the pilot, although we've done a lot in Ondo State, in Benue, but we're going to start with Lagos for 2020.
Affairs is always very excited to work and collaborate with people who reach out to give hope to women and children.
Work together to achieve the desired objectives. In Abuja, Glory Agbo, NTA News.
Still on the Minister of Women Affairs, domesticating the Child's Rights Act across every state in Nigeria is one way of guaranteeing a safe environment for the Nigerian child who is being groomed to take up responsibilities of leadership in the future. The Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Tallen, who has launched a campaign on the subject matter, was at Anambra State to advocate compliance. Monso Damien Dati reports.
The Ministry of Affairs says Nigerian children are still being subjected to various forms of abuses, ranging from rape to sexual exploitation, child marriage, child labor, trafficking, and all sorts of injustice. Most recent is the United Nations survey that reveals that 6 out of every 10 children are being abused by either a stranger, parent, relation, or caregiver.
In an attempt to address the challenges militating against the survival and development of our dear children, has evolved several strategies to ensure the protection of the rights of the child, such as the National Child Rights Implementation Committees, the Technical Working Group on Ending Violence Against Children and on Ending Child Marriage, the Child Protection System among others. It is pertinent to note that stakeholders must be conversant with the rights of children as well as their responsibilities.
Impacting key players with the right information on the Child's Right Act for effective implementation across board is the reason for this gathering. At NTA News.
Next report coming from Jos says, towards actualizing the Sustainable Development Goals, the country director of Women for Women International, Bukola Onyishi, is advocating for financial inclusion platforms that will ensure Nigerian women and girls have access to credit to grow their business. It was at an empowerment program in Jos, where over 200 women from some communities of Plateau State received various trainings and empowerment to boost their businesses. The Young and the Abagyang has a report.
Conflict, insecurity, lack of livelihoods, educational inequalities, poor health and nutrition, as well as violence, both sexual and domestic, have limited the capacity of women and girls to effectively be economically self-sufficient and hampers their zeal to explore their full potentials. Increased advocacy, education, and sensitization will ensure women are positioned to take decisions that will impact their lives.
Adults, it's difficult. How much more a child in marriage? So these are some of the things that we see every day, some of the things that we try to deal with. Honest, it's about solidarity, it's about knowing your fundamental human rights, it's about working together. And for the economic empowerment, we start with numeracy and then go to business skill training, and then we have the vocational skill training, where the women have the opportunity to make sure that they pick one of the skills that we offer and learn.
Financial inclusion, Bukola Onyishi, Country Director, Women for Women International, Nigeria, say it is the needed impetus to sustainable development. In Jos, Indian and the Abagyang, NTA News.
Favor Chisom Obed of Hallel College, Port Harcourt, Rivers State, has received the first prize at this year's National Olympiad ceremony in Abuja. Mathematics, physics, and informatics were the subjects in focus this year. Angie reports.
Motivated Favor Chisom Obed's win is apparently the elixir she requires for a great future in science.
There's a lot of people that were bigger than me and older than me, but I still didn't mind. I just put my best into it.
For years, the National Olympiads have produced winners in mathematics, physics, informatics, chemistry, and biology. The selection process culminates in an international contest which spans between June and September, after which award ceremonies are conducted by the National Mathematical Center.
International Olympiad in any of these 5 subjects are the criteria that the United Nations use to assess the future prospects of any country.
For 2 years now, funding issues have, however, trimmed the subjects featured in the Olympiads from 5 to 3. A challenge the National Mathematical Center says it is working hard to tackle. In Abuja, Anne Jibuno, NTA News.
And from Umuahia, the Migrant e-registration project of the Immigration Service has been officially flagged off in Abia, with the state governor, Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu, urging all foreigners resident in the state to take advantage of the program and be captured to enable better security and economic planning. Steve Lonai Nwaokolo reports that the Abia State Comptroller of Immigration, Edwards Ogba, also enjoined migrants to regularize their stay.
The Migrant e-registration project is aimed at providing all necessary information and requirements for migrants residing in Nigeria to be properly documented in line with global best practices. Beginning of the exercise, Abia State Government, who was represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Chris Ezem, applauded the efforts of the Immigration Service in this regard and urged the people to carry the campaign to the nooks and crannies of the state.
It allows us to provide the necessary security for you. It allows us to make economic planning, taking you into consideration.
Comptroller Abia State Command of the Nigerian Immigration Service, Ogba Edwards says we create conducive environment for migrants.
The mandate was to expand the operation of all states in the Federation on completion of supply of technical equipment and necessary installation work.
The e-registration, which was launched on the 12th of July this year in Abuja, is for non-citizens of Nigeria who intend to stay in Nigeria for a period exceeding 90 days in the country. The e-registration exercise, when completed, will result in a robust, credible, and comprehensive database for migrants in Abia State and the country at large. In Umuahia, Steve Lona in Waukolo, NTA News.
Kemi is standing by in Ibadan. The latest from there. Hello, Kemi.
Dear, good afternoon and welcome to Ibadan. Stakeholders in information industry have advocated the need for producers of publications to focus on adherence to publishing standard. This was at a workshop organized by the National Library of Nigeria held in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Correspondent Rofia Animashaun Badmus has details.
The workshop focused on obtaining international standard book number for books and monograms, as well as international standard series number.
Our mandate is to ensure that we try and collect all books published in Nigeria by Nigerians or on Nigeria.
A whole day will be dedicated to showing them how to access the book number and the serial number right from their homes, on their desks, through their computers.
Key players in library studies say observance to international standard book number and international standard series number by all involved will lead to preservation of intellectual properties, while non-compliance will reduce the international standards for publishing.
It shows that that book is a recognized book by a recognized publisher also.
It is hoped that the drafted national publishing standard for publishing books in Nigeria will soon be ratified by the National Library of Nigeria. The workshop attracted publishers, authors, booksellers, and printers, among others. In Ibadan, Rofia Animashaun Badmus, NTA News.
Wife of the Governor of Kwara State, Mrs. Olufolake Abdurazak, has advised states to see Youth Corps members as an integral part of the society that must be protected while their well-being is prioritized. Mrs. Abdurazak was at the NYC orientation camp in Yikpata, the local government of Kwara State, where she inspected hostels newly built by the state governor. Abdullahi Elewetu has the report.
The National Youth Service Scheme NYSC was established in 1973 with a view to reuniting, reconciling, and rebuilding the country after the Nigerian Civil War. However, over the years, the scheme has been faced with challenges which include shortage of accommodation as a result of infrastructural deficit. The present administration in Kwara State thus took it upon itself to build new hostels and renovate the existing ones. Wife of the Kwara State Governor, Mrs. Olufolake Abdurazak, camp in Yipata to welcome the newly posted corps members and inspect the facilities.
As you prepare to take hold of the next phase of your lives, I charge you all to be of good conduct here at the camp and in the respective communities that you may eventually be posted to.
The NYC State Coordinator in Kwara State, Mrs. Esther Kupolati, applauded the grand strides of the present administration in the state, saying our agency will continue to remember the administration, particularly for the upgrading of the hostels. Climax of the event was the inspection of the various facilities created by Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak. Abdullahi Elewetu, NTA News.
Nigerians, especially politicians, including the Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun, have continued to extol the virtues of a frontline woman leader and politician, Titi Ajanoku, the former special advisor to former President Olusegun Obasanjo on women affairs, who died in Abeokuta at the age of 76. Anthony Gandunu's report is here presented.
This is the Ibara Housing Estate residence of late Chief Titilayo Ajanoku, the former advisor on women affairs to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. since the news of her demise broke out. Family members, friends, sympathizers, and political affiliates have continued to throng her premises to condole with her loved ones. The Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, in a message expressed shock over her death, describing her as a foremost political activist and women leader who served the state meritoriously as the chairman of the whole Abeokuta local government area and the nation at the Federal Executive Council. The governor admitted that Mama Ajanaku has indeed left a vacuum.
Don't forget that she happened to be the Yalukdi of Okionegba, and the politics will not end her that title, but her community service.
Late Titilayo Ajanaku was a woman of many parts, from testimonies, and will be remembered for a lot of things: a trained nurse, an activist who fought the cause of women, a politician of high esteem, and great philanthropist.
She lived a wonderful life, so it's not really mourning. We're celebrating a life well spent.
They all pray to God to give the soul of the late Otu Yalode of Egbaland eternal rest.
And that's from Ibadan. Lydia, it's back to you.
Many thanks, Kemi. Plans have reached advanced stage for the conclusion of boundary demarcation between Benue and Taraba states. Olusheye Adiagbo reports that the National Boundary Commission is working with the offices of the deputy governors of both states to facilitate smooth exercise that will entrench peaceful coexistence.
Discussions have been on to end the age-long crisis between the Jokun and the Chief, two border communities of Benue and Taraba states. Now, solution seems to be in sight with the strong political will of both state governments and the directive of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo to the National Boundary Commission to speedily conclude the boundary demarcation of both states.
A boundary cannot sever you from your property across. Once you are in state A, your property is on state B, you have access to it unhindered. So we want the cooperation of the government, chairman, the state government, so that people's rights can be guaranteed across the boundary.
The deputy governors of the states expressed the willingness of their states to support the process and educate the people to see the boundaries as merely for administrative conveniences and not divisive creation.
I can assure you that the National Boundary Commission has our support in the attempt to carry out the demarcation exercise, which has eluded the two states for the past 30 or 40 years.
We'll pass this message to the two governors. The first thing is sensitization, so that when the Boundary Commission, the National Boundary Commission, is doing the demarcation, the people must have been informed and they must have agreed with it.
It is agreed enlightenment of people should be sustained. Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
Peace, Security and Strategic Studies, Nasarawa State University says it is working on programs started at combating the security challenges in Nigeria. The institution's Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Professor Olayemi Akinwumi, gave this insight when he led students of the PG School to the headquarters of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in Abuja. Olayemi Adiagbo again has more.
Students of Security and Strategic Studies at Nasarawa State University are at the NTA as part of their itinerary to places relevant to their course. The visit comes at the conclusion of their end-of-the-year coursework. The DVC academics of the university who led the students to NTA says they are captured by the role NTA is playing in promoting peaceful coexistence and end of conflict across Nigerian diversity.
Many of our students now will start their PhD work, and some have chosen to do something on media.
They, in particular, want the cooperation of NTA on the strategies it is adopting to succeed in creating understanding and dialogue between different shades of opinion across the nation. Executive Director Prof. Programs Wole Koka, who received them on behalf of the Director General of the NTA, Malam Yakub Ibn Mohammed, says NTA remains committed to its mandate of promoting peace and unity through broadcasting.
Our mandate is to make sure that we integrate and Nigeria remain one indivisible country.
Our own Mohammed Kudu Abubakar, with having his PhD in view from the school, says the choice of studying a course on security and peace is to add to his knowledge.
Here we are, the whole world is in conflict. There are security challenges all over, violence, peace. So if that is the issue, it's one of the main issues, studying it is very important, and that's why some of us felt we should go and study it.
Well, I think it was well received. The essence was to come and ask for collaboration and for NTA to give the institute visibility.
Mohammed's colleagues described their visit to the NTA as an eye-opener, and they are living better informed. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the African Youth Growth Foundation is seeking collaboration with the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, to build capacity and understanding of migrants working in Nigeria on their rights and privileges. Amina Baba Suleiman reports that the group made the call during an advocacy visit to the NTA management.
We put this conference together to bring all the critical stakeholders across the continent together to look at the issues of irregular migration and xenophobic attack, because the attack in South Africa was not restricted to just Nigerians. It's something that affected almost every other African, including the Southern African countries like Zimbabwe and the rest.
Anything that would help Nigerian youth, because the youth are the vulnerable ones in terms of this. They are the ones that are smuggled, they are trafficked, and all that. So NTA is always there to serve as a partner towards solving all these problems.
Let's now join Nura for reports from our Sokoto Network Center. Hello, Nura.
Thank you, Leader, and welcome to Sokoto. The Zamfara state government has concluded arrangements to sponsor 200 indigents of the state to study medical and engineering courses abroad. The first batch of 50 beneficiaries have left for Sudan. Sadia Abakar has the report.
Zamfara state government has recently selected 200 indigents who will be sponsored to study in different countries of the world. Addressing the first batch of 50 students shortly before they depart the country for Sudan Republic, Governor Bello Mohammed, represented by the secretary to the state government, Bala Bello, said choice of courses for the students was meant to serve the educational and economic needs of the state. He assured to take care of their welfare throughout their studies and charged them to study hard as well as exhibit morality while in their countries of destination.
I am particularly going to enjoy you to dedicate yourself to your studies and to ensure that you have justified the confidence that we will hold in you.
162 are male, while 38 are female. 50 of them are going to International University Sudan, 50 will go to University of Technology China, while 70 and 30 will be going to Cyprus and India respectively. The courses to be studied include medicine, nursing, electrical engineering, geology, among others. From Gusau, Sadia Abubakar, NTA News.
Intellectuals from the northwestern Nigeria have converged on Sokoto to brainstorm on enhancing teacher education curriculum to conform with the needs of contemporary society. The educationists are attending the 7th annual conference of Colleges of Education Academic Staff Union at the Shehu Shagari College of Education, Sokoto. Muhammad Nasir reports.
Education is regarded as bedrock of development, which helps people to think and work better to create opportunities for sustainable development. This is the 7th annual academic conference of Colleges of Education Academic Staff Union for Northwest Zone, with the theme Restructuring Teacher Education Towards Achieving Sustainable Development, which advocates the need for education planners to restructure teacher education to conform with present development realities. Speakers at the occasion spoke extensively on the origin and growth of teacher education in Nigeria, curriculum development, and the need to restructure the curriculum for overall development.
There's nothing that is permanent, is life exception. So that is why we feel at this point in time there is need for us to come together and invite intellectuals from all across the country to come and discuss and see how we can restructure the teacher education curriculum so that it will stand the test of time.
We want it to be restructured so that the children or the pupils, the student, even at higher level, should be able to remember at any point in time what they are being taught.
Dr. Sedgamo on its part, the theme for this year's academic conference has come at the right time, describing teaching as pillar of civilization, noble and dynamic profession which has no equal. The conference being attended by representatives from 12 chapters of the College of Education Academic Staff Union will last for 3 days. In Sokoto, Muhammad Nasir, NTA News.
And that is our contribution.
Welcome back. Ikpetu Ijesha, a serene township in Osun State, has been transformed to a tiger's den in a Nigerian Air Force simulation exercise tagged Buje Ekum. Correspondent Naja'atu Tijani reports.
Based on the principles of battle preparation, the Nigerian Air Force says the exercise is also an enactment of the deployment of air assets for seamless conduct of counter-terrorism operations, including those against kidnapping. The thick vegetation in Osun State makes it a likely den of kidnappers, as recent cases in the state show. Ensuring combat readiness at all times is part of the training policy of the Nigerian Air Force, which this simulation exercise aims to do by mimicking real-time events of armed conflict.
It is highly rewarding, and to the state of Osun, it also sends signal to the criminal-minded people that the Nigerian Air Force is solid on the ground to ensure that the state and Nigeria as a whole is protected.
It is very clear. What we are saying is that they must allow Nigerians to pursue their legitimate aspirations without hindrance. If they fail to do that, well, the consequences, we have demonstrated this.
We are convinced that the Nigerian Air Force, along with other security agents, are ready to combat and to fight banditry and all of those vices.
Exercise Bujeku is the fourth in a series of upcoming exercises in other parts of the country. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
And that's Nationwide, the last for the week. Thanks for staying with us. I am Lydia Odije Ochi.